fuselage and the navigation lights on the wingtips, and they're ready for start. The Concorde couldn't start itself. It's started by a ground starter. That would start 2 engines, and it's then pushed back and it can start the other 2 engines. Once it's pushed back, they're ready to go, but they can't see where they're going because of the nose. So to see the taxiway, the yellow line they have to follow the runway, they'll first put the heat shield visor down. But because of their big nose, they still can't see the yellow line they're going to follow to the runway, so the nose goes down to 5 degrees. Now, like that, they can follow the taxiway to the runway entrance. Once they're cleared to go on the runway, they're going to put the landing lights on to give higher visibility. Now, the lights are flush with the fuselage. You can probably see them, if you're on the ground anyway, motoring down from the fuselage. They will light up when they're fully down. Now, like that, they're going to go onto the runway. Now, with most planes, most airliners, you calculate the throttle setting depending on the weather, the weight, and so on. With Concorde, there's no need to calculate. You just put the 4 throttles to maximum, and away she goes. At 70 miles an hour, the reheat or the afterburners kick in. Passengers feel a thump in the back as that power comes on, and it carries on accelerating down the runway to about 247 miles an hour, faster than a Formula 1 car, and then it lifts off. As we climb away from Heathrow, we're going to put the lights off, and we're going to start getting her in her more aerodynamic form. So the nose is going to go up to 0 degrees. And then that heat shield visor will go back up. As we go out towards the Bristol Channel, we have to stay just under the speed of sound. We'll turn the reheats off, and once we get out over the Bristol Channel, clear of land and complaints about sonic booms, the reheats come back on and we'll climb away very steeply at 1.7 times the speed of sound. We don't need the reheats any longer, but we carry on, and this is the fastest Concorde, 2.2 times the speed of sound, 1,450 miles an hour, and then we cruise at 63,000 feet across the Atlantic, faster than the Boeings and the Airbuses and well above them. Concorde, when it's cruising, gets very hot from the friction. That's why they need that heat shield visor. The temperature on the trials that this one did went up to 127, 130 degrees centigrade, and the engineers decided that the airline ones couldn't go that fast because it would restrict the life of the metal going to that temperature and back. Another interesting thing is it actually gets longer. It arrives in America 10 inches or a foot longer than when it left the UK. So we're going across the Atlantic, about 150 miles from the coast, we'll start slowing down, and it takes 100 miles to slow down, and we're just subsonic 50 miles off the coast as we get, we're just subsonic as we get 50 miles from the coast, and as we approach JFK, New York Airport, we'll start getting ready to land. Now, because Concorde only has the one wing, unlike airliners that have got a tailplane as well, it has no flaps, has no air brakes. The only way it can slow down is by raising its head and using its body to slow down. So it's coming in with its head held a lot higher than a conventional airliner. So they want to see the runway to land, obviously. They'll put the heat shield visor down. And then the nose goes down to 5 degrees, as you saw when we were taxiing out. However, because it's got its head held high, they still can't see the runway to land. And this actual airplane had to develop how far down the nose needed to go to land. And it has the droopiest nose of any Concorde. It will now go down to 17.5 degrees. And like that, they could clearly see the runway to land. However, when the Air France and British Airways pilots started training on this Concorde, they weren't too happy because the nose is completely out of sight. So they experimented with different settings on this Concorde, and the airline Concordes, the nose only went down to 12.5 degrees, which we'll demonstrate to you now. So if you were watching an airline Concorde, British Airways or Air France, coming in to land at Heathrow or Charles de Gaulle, then that's what it would look like. However, because we've got the droopiest nose, we'll put it down to 17.5 degrees again for our landing. And so we're coming in to land, we're going to put those landing lights back on. And in this configuration, we land. And we land 50 or 60 miles an hour faster than a Boeing or an Airbus, but we could stop quicker because we have the first plane, I think, with carbon fibre brakes, and the brakes also electrically fanned to cool them down. Once we've slowed to decent speed and ready to go off the runway on a taxiway, we're going to take the nose back up to the taxi position of 5 degrees. In that configuration, we'll go along the taxiway to the terminal and connect to the air bridge. Once we're docked on the air bridge and our passengers are ready to disembark, we'll make it look smarter, more streamlined. So we'll take the nose up to 0 degrees. And the heat shield visor will go back up, and the crew will turn off the landing lights, the navigation lights, the anti-collision lights, and that's it. We've arrived in New York. Have a nice day. Thank you very much.